And welcome back to the EU LCS. Before Unicorns of Love beat Giants, I asked Cold who was going to win and why, and you said it's going to be me. Did you know you were going to have to steal a Baron to do it?
No. But that's a good way to win a game, you know? It's always, the better jungler is always the guy that just steals everything with Smite and look good because of Smites.
Were you a little nervous? Because Uniwell was definitely in control of the game for the majority, but it looked like if Giants got that Baron, it could have turned.
Debatable. I felt like we had a stronger draft, and I was really, really confident in the game that we would win. So I think we did some hiccups in the game, and we were maybe playing a little bit too cocky at times. That forced us in a position where they could get the Baron, because I felt like in the game we were very comfortable, like we were having huge lead, like we could just take over the game. But it's a classic UL when mid games hit, like we do some mistakes that lead to the other teams getting tempo on the map that they utilize well, and we need to fix this if we want to keep winning.
Well, it's very lucky that even with some mistakes, you pull out the win. Before the game started, you said picks and bans are going to be crazy. We got the Mundo, we got the Pike, and then we got the Udyr. That caused a lot of conversation backstage. What's your opinion on that jungle pick?
Ooh, I think it has probably... The thing is, right now, every champion, I'm like, this champion probably has like a purpose somewhere.
It has a place.
In some place, you know, but I felt like in this kind of comp, it was not that great because we had a lot of tools to kite the champion. So generally not a big fan. I'm sure Joko was like, this is the perfect pick to beat them, you know, but then I knew from the start I would win, so.
Well, Touche, you did call it. You called it, you predicted it. It was that confident prediction and the Baron steal that also got you player of the game. So congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Congratulations on player of the game. And we're going to head back to Dracos.
Thank you, Quick Shot. Of course, I think important to remember why Cold got player of the game. You could look at the early game, you could look at the mid lane ganks, but I think we all know the moment where a jungler wins player of the game. It's hard to imagine, but Baron seems like a pretty important objective.
Yeah, it's right here where Giants have been trying to take this Baron down for upwards of 30-40 seconds at this point. It let Cold get back onto the map, and oh, that is good. It was also an early smite there from Joko, it looked like.
Not only is that Baron steal, which looks cool in itself, but in the context of this game, Giants look pretty poised to maybe even get the upper hand in the game, but UL shutting down that cheeky Baron steal, and Samux here doing his best to get a kill, still remaining without a single
He's there to back the team up. He's there to kill the towers, but has yet to draw any blood.
He's trying, and he gets points.
And I just want to thank you guys for jinxing Giants by predicting so avidly in their favor, and not expecting them to leash a Baron for Unicorns of Love. So it worked out pretty nicely.
There's no way we could have known that UL were going to win the game. I don't think anyone here could have predicted them that they were going to take that home.
No one would have done such a thing. Only handsome people predicted Giants.
That's cold. All right, let's look ahead towards our next game. Vitality, they're looking to stay undefeated against Roccat, and Vitality coming in hot, safe to say. Won both their games last week, looking like the Vitality we saw early in the spring split.
And it's all this early game focus from this team. Specifically, the man on your screen, Attila, and his support, Jack Troll, have been absolute monsters down there in the bottom lane, playing the Lux, the Pike, the Heimerdinger, the Fiddlesticks, whatever it is an absolute treat to watch.
And it's not just the fact that they're picking these champions, but it's such a different meta to what we were seeing in spring. So huge props to these guys for being able to whip out something different and having success from it. What I want to take a look at, though, from this matchup is the man in the mid lane, Jizuke. He's not really had the best performance. He did get that Rookie of the Split, and he hasn't really lived up to what he's been showing us in spring. But Vitality is still looking pretty blooming good. So what happens? This is my question. What happens when Jizuke finally unlocks his final form? What happens to Vitality? Do they transcend into another level? Do they get auto-promoted to the LCK? Who bloody knows?
That's the new highest goal any LCS team can achieve, auto-promoted to LCK. And I just love it from the team across the board. People that didn't step up last season as much. Attila now at the forefront, Cabo now at the forefront. Jizuke, though, still struggling, but it feels like two really big playmakers are going to show up in this match, and it's the support. Jack Troll on the Pike. Scarin showed it last week on the Roccat as well. These guys are looking so crisp when it comes to playmaking.
The best part is that they're both playing Pike, making plays on this champion, and really setting up things for their team. Their team, needs someone to put the ignition in, and it's the support role that has really kicked off for both these squads.
We just saw a Pyke in the previous matchup as well, and I personally, in this kind of wacky meta, it's a lot of refreshingness coming out. That's not a word. Coming out of the support picks at least.
Yeah, they're carrying out of the support role.
Exactly, they are playing these playmaking champions, and it's really fun to see. And Pyke, especially, just that specific champion he's pretty nutty when he's played well.
Definitely is. Definitely not a fun experience to play against that Pyke when he suddenly shows up against your lane.
And that pink chroma. It looks good. I might be biased.
looking fresh. Max synergy with Foxtrot. We'll see if they find that synergy if they get their hands on the Pyke. The thing I want to talk about, though, is like, look, Roccat, up and down. First week, we can say safely for sure. I don't feel like we've seen their final form yet, but we've seen a lot from Vitality. Feels like a Vitality-favored matchup. How do Roccat actually win this game? Ender, I want to start with you.
Right. For me, Vitality, they've got a really strong bottom lane. What Roccat need to do is draft the better bottom lane. Get strong priority picks like the mages. I'd love to see them move into. If it's not going to be the mages, make it a kill lane. Get some bruisers down there. Show some jungler attention to shut these guys down, because if you let Attila roll away with it, it's going to be very, very tough. The other thing you want to be doing is punishing Jizuke. You mentioned how he has been struggling. He's gotten solo killed in both his games. It's time for Blanc to step up in the mid lane, for Memento to give him some attention as well, because this guy can be punished.
Look, I like it. We saw it in the last game, mid jungle is a big deal. Foxtrot, I want to give you your chance too. What do you think? You have a different take here from Ender. What do you want to see?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you can draft to actually beat Vitality's bottom lane, but you can give Norscarin a playmaker in that support pick, which is what I'd really like to see. We saw his Pyke was absolutely phenomenal. Get him on another champion where he can do things, where he can roam around the map, get him into that mid lane, get him wherever you want him to get it, and just let him take over the game as best he can. And also in that top lane as well, keep that a 1v1. Get eyes on Gilius. Don't let him go into the top lane and feed on Cabochard, and just get that top jungle synergy, because that's something we've seen out of Vitality has been pretty impressive thus far. So lock that down, get eyes on Gilius, draft Norscarin playmaker, and you have a pretty good chance of winning if you're Roccat.
I want to see, can Roccat pull it off? We're going to find out. Is this time for an upset? We're going to leave it to Pyra and Vedius to take us through the game.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Well, I always feel like Roccat have the potential to upset the apple cart, but dude, Vitality are looking incredible. Like, what do you think they need to do other than what's already been said about drafting?
Nothing.
That's good.
I think the analysts hit the nail on the head. I do think the Vitality are the heavy favorites on paper, but as you rightly said, Roccat, I believe this is the week where they will surprise. We will see if they are able to pull it off as we jump into pick and ban. We've already seen some creative stuff to start our day, Pyra. Let's see if the craziness continues, as we are still on patch 8.12 for game 2.
All right, Zoe's removed right now. Yeah, last week, Vitality was kind of leading the charge with some of the more interesting stuff. That Heimer Fiddle bot lane, of course, then the Lux Pyke came in. I want to see if Vitality or if Roccat have this very quick focus on the bottom lane. But we're still in bans. Ornn's off the table. Nocturne's off the table.
Now we are seeing a increased priority on taking Nocturne out of the game. Last week he was picked up occasionally. This week he seems to be constantly on the ban table. Team saying, we hate the fact that he can be so impactful once he hits level 6. We hate the darkness that lasts for 6 whole seconds, and he's just too strong in the jungle right now. So he's being taken off the board. And Roccat also taking away the Aatrox. Remember, in the last game, Irelia was not prioritized at all. She wasn't picked or banned. Very rare and different to what we saw in week 1. And she didn't have any changes coming into 8.12, and so far she has been left up and available. This to me says that some of the European teams have figured out that there are answers to the Irelia champion. Even though she can be flexed to multiple different roles, she's kind of dropped in priority after the last week of practice.
Oh, let's see if that's still the case here. Might not be. Insta locked in. There's the Irelia.
So again, this has a lot of flexibility. You can put it pretty much anywhere, but you can also put Darius pretty much anywhere as well. We've seen Faker play it down in the bottom lane.
I don't know if that's a good thing anymore.
Well, we have still seen it happen. We've also seen it put up top, and I'm sure there's no reason as to why it can't make its face in the middle lane as well. I would imagine that it is a pretty big pick into the Irelia, which is why Vitality is so keen to get their hands on it. And we spoke about playmakers for support. Jackdaw has already gotten himself one. Not only is it a good pick into things like the Pyke, but also it just answers a lot of the playmaking style champions that Norscarin loves to play.
Okay, cool. Vitality definitely getting the jump on this one. We'll see, though, if Rocket's power picks are going to be enough to join the Irelia. They have themselves a Vladimir. Now, we have seen that in a number of roles as well. Multiple flexes. Definitely thinking back to the LCK a few weeks ago when it was pretty much exclusively in that bottom lane.
So right now, you would imagine that the Vladimir would be heading towards the bottom side of the map. You would imagine the Aurelia hanging around the mid, Trundle going to be going into the jungle. Interesting that Roccat would choose to put such high priority on it so early on in the draft, as you are now giving the Lulu over to Vitality. This has been a huge pick in the current meta, not only because of how effectively she works in mid, but again, because of her flexibility. You can move her largely between mid and the bot lane. We've seen many bot lane doers of things like Shen and Lulu. We've seen Lulu Karma, Lulu Janna, like all kinds of crazy stuff has been put down towards the bottom side of the map all across the world, and it all revolves around this Lulu, and it's just because of how much value she offers in the mid to late game team fights. Not that we get late game team fights anymore, but
Let's just call them mid-game team
sure,
fights.
mid-game team fights.
Yeah.
But especially on a Darius who struggles to close the gap and get towards his targets, the Lulu speed up is extremely valuable and synergizes nicely.
To top it off too, if Jizuke, really has been struggling the last week or so, you put him on a champion that has, some relative safety, doesn't have to go all in.
She's often quite strong in the middle lane as well. We are moving on to the second phases of bans, Pyra. The fact that we are seeing a Mundo ban, I think, not too surprising. There is the Vladimir, who kind of really struggles against Mundo, and they want to keep that option of sending the Vladimir up towards the top side of the map. And I love the Braum ban here from Vitality, because Norskarin, not only is Braum one of his big comfort picks, something that he played a lot during last split, but it's also a pretty good answer into things like the Alistar. So showing that respect towards the playmaker that is Norskarin.
All right. In addition to the Mundo, though, for the Roccat side, their next ban, their final ban, will be the Swain. And for Vitality, no hesitation, they lock in the Skarner. And this should be that Gilius pick.
You would very much surprise it to be in, you would very much expect it rather to be in the jungle. I think they're quite happy having this into the Trundle matchup. Many have said, or many junglers rather have said last split, that this matchup is okay. It's usually a lot worse if you're an Olaf into the Trundle, and it's not ideal because Trundle still trades pretty effectively in the early game, but in terms of the value that Skarner does offer, especially later on, it's a pretty good pick. So I think Vitality not too upset about picking themselves that one up.
Yeah, now there is the Tom Kench locked in. That is one of those playmakers for Norskarin, as well as being a relatively safe champion. Roccat have one more pick to go to decide where everything all ends up. We'll flash on that Talon. We saw Jizuke playing it, as well as the Echo. That's one of his favorites. Going back quite a ways, a little bit of respect flash, and it's going to be the Ezreal locked in for Hikyu.
So you now are largely expecting the flex between Vlad top or Vlad mid. The fact that the Mundo was banned away suggests that they ideally want the Vladimir into the Darius, where they're assuming is going towards the top lane. And now that you've also seen the Lulu pick, you're expecting that to be in mid. And with the final lock-in from the side of Vitality, that's kind of the expectation or trend that we are gearing towards, depending on whether or not they choose to lock in the Heimerdinger.
Well, last couple seconds, and it looks like we'll be raising some dongers today, Vedius. Attila once more on the Heimerdinger.
So this has become a bit of a comfort pick now for Attila. He was the first one to play it here in Europe. He may have even been the first one to play it in the world, and it has become a bit of a popular pick here. Also has seen a fair number of bans, but especially in the hands of Attila, definitely something that he is more than happy to get for himself, and it does apply a lot of pressure towards the bottom side of the map. Early laning phase is very obnoxious because of all the turrets, and when you're going up against an Ezreal, sure, that poke can be a little bit obnoxious from time to time, but he's not really going to have an opportunity to utilize it, given that you're just going to be sitting behind your minions and just pushing. So Roccat, they kind of have a struggling bot side of the map. The mid lane is also struggling, at least in the very early levels, until that already gets Sheen. The advantage here for Roccat, though, is the Vladimir into the Darius, will be okay in the early laning phase. He'll be able to trade pretty effectively. So it's kind of split across the boards. So you would imagine that Vitality will look to try and get that bot tower as early as possible and then start moving this Heimerdinger around the map. And the other thing you need to keep your eyes on is the roaming of Jack Troll. Something that we've been seeing a lot in the current meta is when you have a mage support, mage bot laner rather, they can hold the lane 2v1 with just their wave clear, and they can play very defensively, and that allows champions like Blitzcrank, Pyke, Leona, Alistar to grab early Moby boots and just start roaming around the map and looking for plays specifically in the middle lane. And it's just something that you always have to be mindful of, especially when Jack Troll, as an individual, does love that kind of playstyle.
Yeah, maybe Jizuke will be in for better laning phase this time around. He'd certainly be happier. Now Vitality on the 2-0. They can stop the upset from happening. They'll climb their way up the undefeateds once more. But Roccat, 5 members down the bot side. Is there some trickery going on here, Vedius?
They want to get into the bot lane because they know Attila wants to set up these turrets as fast as possible. He could face check straight into this. Will he do it?
Oh, dear. Oh, what a value ward! Oh, just like that. No shenanigans.
Yeah, good respect there from Attila. He's like, they could rush bot. I got to make sure that they are not, so I would drop a ward in, and it saves his life.
Guys, they warded us. What do we do?
So a very quick pause will be coming out from the side of Roccat. Refs will be on stage dealing with the issue as fast as possible. And the moment we know something, we will naturally share that with the viewers at home. In the time being, we get to talk a little bit more about the comps and the game, Pyro.
Exactly, Vedia. So, the level 1 stuff aside, you mentioned how Roccat are going to have some struggles in the bottom side. They're going to have some struggles in the mid, but the top lane is where they can find success. How much do we want to see necessarily the junglers get involved? Do Vitality need that to happen? Or rather, does Roccat need that to happen for them to get this ahead?
I mean, if you get junglers involved, it always helps. And the one thing you have to be careful of as a Heimer is that because you're constantly pushing, you're usually overextended, which means that the risk of a jungle gank is pretty high. The problem is that Roccat don't actually have a lot of gank setups. Mid lane would be the easiest lane to gank from the side of Roccat because Aurelia is pretty mobile and she has decent setup if she can land the skill shots. But outside of that, you can't really gank bot lane because it's Tahm Kench. Once you get level 6, maybe it's a little bit easier, but even then, once you're level 6, Heimer will be level 6, and he gets even harder to gank once he's able to upgrade his turret. And then Vladimir doesn't really have any CC for you to really set up with. So if there's no flash on the Darius, sure, you can make a play up top side, but outside of that, I feel that Rockat's early game isn't going to be snowballing out of control. A lot of the skirmishes are going to happen from laners pushing out and then moving between the lanes and in the river and kind of trying to help out their side laners.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're going to be playing maybe a little bit more defensively to kick things off for a while. Now, we are hearing on stage that the issue relating to Memento sound in client, and that is why the client is being restarted. It looks like that should be resolved fairly shortly. More information as it comes in. But for Roccat, it does seem like this Aurelia pickup was something that they still clearly are valuing, even if a lot of the other teams may not be now.
Well, I mean, it's only been one game today, so we don't know for sure that the other teams haven't put that same value.
Technically?
That is true, but they consider an answer to it. They think that clearly either the Darius or the Lulu is a fine matchup into it. Note how early they went for the Darius, and I think Roccat will be pretty happy with how they've got these lane assignments and how their draft panned out. But you just kind of look at this Vitality lineup, and you've got a Lulu combined with the Darius damage, who's really strong at just a single item. And you've also got Attila, who kind of at one item when he's got the Luden's Echo, and he's also got his ultimate, level 11, he really spikes. So Vitality's mid game is just really strong, and you have the option to make early game plays because you have the Predator on the Skarner as well, especially around level 6, and you have a roaming Alistar. So I feel like Vitality have just drafted a style that suits them, which is very much around early playmaking and trying to find those early leads, and you actually have a lot of lanes that you can play around. You probably won't look to play towards top side, but you can gank mid. She is an Aurelia melee mid lane champion, and you have a lot of CC from the Lulu, so it's very easy for Gilius to walk in, land the CC, walk back out again, and in the bot lane you have an Alistar. So you either move the Alistar with the Skarner to help gank around the maps, you can pretty much go anywhere, or you bring the Skarner down to bot lane and you set up potential plays. So. Looks like the swap has actually come in.
We've got a Jizuke's up towards the top. That means it's going to be the Darius versus the Aurelia in the mid. So you were quite right that the Darius is clearly what Vitality value as a counter pick to Blanc's Aurelia.
Yep. And he's actually started with stun because he knows he can't approach the wave at all. You've also got Gilius going from red into the Scuttle Crab, and you can see that little red ward just on the blue buff of Roccat. So they have full awareness of where Memento is right now in the jungle. And it gives so much more confidence for Cabo to play as aggressively as he wants. I really like the swap up from Vitality, not giving Roccat the lane assignments that they wanted initially.
Vitality, nice little switcheroo for themselves. Gilius wiggling down a little closer to the bottom. Looks like it'll be all about that Scuttle Grab for a while. Gotta be careful, Cabochard. Lane can come and go pretty quickly on that Aurelia.
Yeah, but again, remember that Aurelia in the early levels is considered pretty weak. Her base values are not that strong, and she doesn't trade that well. Once she gets Sheen, she's a little bit better, but it looks like Roccat are after an early gank mid.
Oh yeah, Cabochard, he sees it coming, flashes immediately the respect of the pillar. stopping him from going a little too far forward. But now he's not got that flash, so a repeat gank could be deadly.
I think that would be really smart from the side of Roccat. We talked about how there's only one really gankable lane for the side of Roccat, and that is in the mid lane. And now that they've already been able to burn the flash from Cabo, it means that they can go for a repeat gank. And would you look at it, they already have the right set on mid. Pings are coming down. They have a rough awareness of where he is. Cabo feels safe in this position, but I don't know if he should.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit rough right now. You can get a little cocky sometimes playing that Darius. The pillar's up. He's going to try and spin around, but is he going to live before the TP comes in? It looks like no. Gilius tried to give him some backup, but it was just too much. Now Jizuke coming back to the mid lane, and with Gilius, he's going to equalize, but the chaos isn't over yet. Memento flashes forward, takes a bite out of the Scorpion, and he's looking for Jizuke as well. Will Roccat come out ahead? Even Norscaren's joining the fun, and that's a triple kill from Memento.
What a fantastic start for Roccat. So many members of Vitality commit to trying to keep Cabo alive, and it ends in disaster. Memento securing himself 3 kills on the Trundle, and Roccat off to an early game lead.
That is right, just a Tiamat. Like, he's just being able to buy a Tiamat just off the back of the 3 kills. Roccat off to a fantastic start against a team that has looked like one of the best early game teams in Europe right now.
Yes, exactly that. So, let's look back to how this play happened. Cabo, there were pings coming down onto the Trundle. They were aware that he was in this area, but they thought that with the TP top lane and with Gilius flashing over the wall, they could turn this one around. And Gilius, with the support of the Lulu, yes, this is starting to look better, but Memento, he's just been completely untouched. He is freely dealing damage onto all of the Vitality members. And yes, Norscaren, we did all see this play. Ooh, shame we didn't get a slow-mo of the flash tongue lash there from Norscaren.
Still counts as playmaking.
He wasted his flash for nothing. That was an oopsie-daisy if I've ever seen one. But it's all right because he can just dab on the haters as he often likes to do. But still, Roccat off to an early game lead. 3-1 now in their favor. I would love to see them continue repeat ganks towards the middle lane. And Gilius, he needs to be ready to respond to that pressure so that this Blanc on Aurelia doesn't get rolling ahead.
Yeah, Gilius is going to need that level 6 to have access to the Impale. Really good CC ability for him. We'll check in with some of the other lanes. Prophet getting a little beaten up by Jizuke for just a bit. And now you can see Gilius hanging around the mid, but it's kind of just babysitting duty. He doesn't really seem to have a whole lot else to do at the moment.
You can see how obnoxious this lane is for the Vladimir, but now we see Memento heading up topside.
Oh boy, the Trundle, that is the terror of this game, and Jizuke doesn't know what hit him.
He doesn't have his flash. He used it earlier on, and Memento already level 6, 5.5 minutes into this game. Prophet flashed in to help guarantee the slow on his E. He had the pool as well, and everything is coming together for Roccat, playing through the top side, trying to secure an early tower as we see a bit of action down bot.
It is a 1,000 gold lead, just shy of the 6-minute mark. Norscaren comes back from his roaming, and he's able to bring some normalcy back to this bottom lane. We thought it was going to be all about the bot, Vedius. It has been everywhere else this game.
Well, to be honest, I kind of expected a little bit of a slower early game from the side of Roccat, but Memento, with these early kills, is not slowing down at all. Jizuke pretty overextended up towards the top side. You think this is a little dangerous from Prophet, but you recognize that if he doesn't flashes into the minion wave, then he's not going to land that slow because of how telegraphed Vladimir can be. So he had to commit with the flash, and it does result in another kill going over to Memento. Now, if this is your typical solo queue game, you'd be like, jungler, stop stealing all the kills. But given how well Memento is playing, I think they're fine with it.
Yeah, looks like Aurelia going in with that ult. Memento coming through, and Cabochard once more, he's going to fall right on down. Speaking of typical solo queue games, I've seen a few Dariuses go this way.
He still doesn't have his flash available, so Roccat can just keep punishing it. Now Prophet is level 6, Blanc is level 6. Everything is going in the early game in favor of Roccat.
And critically, look at what they're doing with all of this gold right now. Every single member of Roccat have themselves control wards to be able to light up this map like a Christmas tree. It's going to be rough for Vitality to try and match that vision. And Jizuke finds himself killed, isolated once again. I was not expecting him to be the league leader in isolated deaths in week 2.
Yes, he got solo killed twice last week, and now he's gotten himself another isolated death. This is just a nice setup from the side of Roccat. Again, no flash on Cabo. He doesn't have any escapes to get out of that situation, and it's funny because we were talking about how the only lane you can really gank is the middle one. Blanc is the only one that has good lane setup for Memento, and then we also said that really Memento wants to kind of be ganking that Darius, so he then goes towards the middle lane, which in a shorter lane with more angles to gank, it's actually way harder for the Darius to play as safe as he typically would in the top lane. And then for the Lulu, Jizuke is just so pushed up without showing proper respect that he ends up losing his life as well. So right now, once again, good stun from Blanc in the middle lane.
I've seen this one a few times. He does get the Opry handoff as well as Gilius' ultimate, but Blanc is able to dash out. Not before he's dunked on. Cabo gets some revenge.
Memento didn't want to commit because he saw that the entire Vitality team was missing. Blanc did lose his life as his flash was unavailable, and now Vitality are committing to the mid-tier 1.
What a swing here for Vitality. They just go, go, go and decide they do not want to be losing this early game anymore. Looks like they're going to be the ones to find the first tower after the game is gone. That might be the craziest thing of all.
Roccat, they cannot punish anywhere else on the map, and Vitality say we need to kick this up a gear. They sent all the members mid, they secured the mid-tier 1, they get themselves a kill as well. And this is just Roccat feeling confident they can continue to punish Vitality, but this time they are ready for it. You can see that Gilius was hanging around, the hard commit coming out from Roccat. The ulti was not available this time from Blanc, which is a large part of why they couldn't win it. The same can be said for Memento. He didn't feel like sticking around because he could see on the mini-map that Jack Troll, Attila, and Jizuke were all heading this way. So Vitality, even though they're still behind in gold, getting that structure in mid lane opens up a couple more options for them.
Getting the jump on Roccat decision-making here. Excellent for them. A lot of vocal calls coming from both sides. Each team, you can hear them here in the studio as well. Things have settled down just a tiny little bit here, maybe for the first time all game. We're getting closer and closer to that 10-minute mark. Attila's going to be joined by Jack Troll towards the bottom lane, and it looks like Gilius is on his way as well.
TP will be used topside, but Vitality, they're going to push out mid and largely play towards this early Mountain Drake. They have the Skarner, who's pretty quick at taking it, especially when he's on that Spire. And you can see they even have the Scryer's Bloom to clear out any extra vision that Roccat may have set down for themselves. So Vitality, very clear goals of what they would like to achieve. And Norskeren, got to be careful not to face check.
Oh, well, the face check came to him. It looks like Norskeren is going to have to use his flash, but he gets yanked back over the wall, and now he's in some serious trouble. Gray health or no? Let's see if he can get away from that one. Pops it on, but meanwhile, Memento comes back in. He takes a bite out of Attila. Down goes the Heimerdinger. The Aurelia's coming in from out of nowhere. Roccat have turned this one around. Jack Troll, he's forced to flash the pit, but the Dragon is aggro, dealing him some serious DPS right now. He's going to be able to make it out, but that was chaos in the jungle.
A big turnaround there for Roccat, and it all comes off the back of Norskeren buying so much time for his team. Gilius is able to get out by the skin of his teeth, but Roccat find another successful fight. But the action isn't over yet. Pyra is Jizuke just trading back and forth a little bit with Prophet.
All right, he's able to scare him off. The Glitter Lance was just enough damage. But okay, let's settle down. Let's take a breather for just a minute. I was wanting to say right before Blanc actually goes down that the Sheen coming up for him, now he's going to have a little bit more of that damage you're pointing out, but didn't seem like it was going to be enough here.
So this is a good pullback from Cabo, and the pillar kind of makes it hard for the rest of Roccat to help, but Blanc still recognizes, hey, I can come down and fight. Attila gets chunked out by Hiku, and this turns it into a 3 versus 4, and Norskeren consumes the Darius for long enough to effectively make it a 2 versus 4. And while Blanc does use his flash and Jack Troll just punts him away, overall Roccat still come out ahead, even after expending a large number of Summoner Spells. And you can see Attila, he was not in a position really to contribute a lot to the damage. A lot of it was coming from Cabo, and when he was out of the fight, very easy way for Roccat to clean up the rest.
That's the thing, Attila hasn't actually been able to contribute a lot to Vitality's effort this game, period, because it just hasn't been down towards that bottom lane. Now Vitality, they are trying to bring people up towards the mid here, but there are a lot of pings flying. Seems like everybody's still pretty keen on trying to help secure that Dragon. It is a Mountain Drake. This will certainly help knocking down some towers. As up in the top, Prophet takes some punishment from Jizuke's Lulu.
Very early Spectre's Cowl coming in from Prophet, wants to get a bit of magic resistance because he finds this extremely obnoxious. And again, Vitality setting up towards the bottom side of the map.
Oh, here we go. Hemoplague is on. Jizuke going to flash the pillar, but Memento's still coming. The Wild Growth, and look at that damage! He's burning down, but not low enough as Memento decides he doesn't want to keep tanking tower. That'll be the end of that gank.
A lot of Summoner Spells were used, but now Vitality have the right set on this bottom tier 1. Roccat know that Cabo Shot is on his way, and Attila does have the ulti too, so they can't really answer that, so instead Roccat are just going to try and trade turrets. They'll likely lose a Mountain Drake, but if they can get themselves the Rift Herald, it should end up being a fairly equal trade from both sides.
Looks like that's going to be the case, but Memento still packing quite a lot of damage on that Titanic Hydra as well, with 6 kills in this game. 100% kill participation for Memento. He has really taken his great early start to heights.
But he needs to keep this pressure on because big item spikes have yet to come through for Roccat. There's no Trinity Force on the Aurelia. He may go for the Trinity Force second, he may go for the Iceborne Gauntlet, depending on what he finds more valuable. I would imagine he wants the Kite ability, considering he's against a Darius and a Skarner, rather than just the slightly more damage that you would get from the Trinity Force. But we'll see what decision he chooses to go for. Meanwhile, Vitality, they're still up 2 towers to 1, and even though they're down in kills, they've been able to keep the goals relatively close. They decided not to go for the Mountain Drake, which I find a little surprising. But they don't want to risk it and overcommit. Now, you would imagine that they send Heimerdinger actually up towards the top side of the map, but instead they're going to keep things a little bit even. There is only 1 outer tower left for them to take, and for now, they're not going to overcommit for it.
Slow down, wait for the equalization. Now, Cabochard, he picks up his Trinity Force as well, actually earlier ahead of what Blank was able to do on the other side. And Vitality just trying to keep this one not as fast since they weren't the ones in the driver's seat. Although Jizuke, he moves forward, looks for Hikyu, forces him to back away. Kind of hard to kill an Ezreal that hasn't used his Arcane Shift.
Exactly that. Pyro Ping's now coming down onto the Mountain Drake. Vitality, remember that coming into the split, many analysts expected them to have a strong performance, given that they've always been a very good early game team, and this meta revolves very much around the early game. Even this is kind of the first time we're seeing them at a deficit so far this split, because their last 2 games have just been such commanding victories. Feels like teams have now had a little bit more time to prep, but also it's just the way in which Roccat have answered. They saw the swap coming in, they saw Cabo in the middle lane, they worked to punish, but now Prophet could be the one getting punished by Vitality.
Jacktroll knocks Prophet away, and he's going towards the wrong tower with 3 on top. And let's see if they try to give this one over the way of Attila. It looks like Pool's going down, and Attila launching all the rockets he can, but he just doesn't have the damage to deal it. So Gilius finally takes the kill, and it looks like meanwhile Roccat are going to push mid with the Rift Herald.
Surprise Prophet chose not to use his ultimate. He could have bought a lot more time if he'd had that extra bit of sustain off the back of it, because the 3-man squad of Skarner, Heimer, and Alistair at this point in the game doesn't really have that much damage.
No,
so it took them a very long time to really kill Prophet. To be fair, it is his first death of the game. Yes, he overextended just a little bit and he didn't need to die, but Roccat, they get themselves a tower in exchange, and I think that they'll be pretty happy with the outcome overall.
Yeah, keeping the gold lead, or at least bringing the gold lead a little bit back up for themselves at the moment and equalizing out on the towers. Roccat, they have to be flying pretty high considering what they've been able to do this game, though. Against a squad like Vitality, who had such incredible early performance, and also, if you think back to it, were just such an incredible performer throughout the split. No, they may not have been able to secure that 3rd place match way back in spring at Copenhagen, but the fact that these guys came in with so many young, talented, but very inexperienced players and do what they did was impressive. So Roccat holding the line against them now that they've got that more experience. Pretty cool stuff to see.
And it's interesting because one of the big things coming into this game, you talked about the 3rd place match, and we talked about that they weren't able to secure it. One of the big factors in that was Attila. And while Jizuka didn't have the best performance, we're still kind of seeing that same performance so far in this split, where Attila's been one of the big carries, where his pressure combined with Jacktroll on the bottom lane has been so huge. And you can just see it from the stats that he had from week 1, where his CS differential was absolutely huge. He had a huge early gold lead at the 15-minute mark as well. And he was a large contributor to a lot of the kills with his extremely high kill participation. So he was where a lot of the leads were coming from, the early advantages they built in the bottom lane, but that's not where this game has gone. He's actually behind in farm against Hikyu. He actually is sitting on a death so far in this game, and this is one of the big difference makers, because when Jizuke isn't that big carry that the team plays through, and when your bot lane is kind of being shut down, it gives the opportunity for other teams to find those advantages. And with Memento finding those big plays in the middle lane, and given the fact that Attila and Jacktroll weren't running away with the game, Roccat are in a great spot.
Speaking of running away with it, the Flash and the Impale is going to find Blank, and now Norscarin is bringing friends to the party, but it's just more blood for the Blood God. Down goes 2 members of Roccat. It's a double kill for Jizuke, and now Vitality marching on bottom tower with 5.
Norscarin brought Hikyu down to try and turn the favor of the fight, but Roccat did not realize that all 5 members were there from Vitality, and finally, Attila was able to show up with the Heimerdinger. Everything came into fruition, and Vitality, they retake the gold lead.
Yeah, that was unfortunate moves by Roccat. Blank was dead to rights no matter what. Let's take a look at it again.
So he doesn't see this happening. Gilius comes in and he thinks in this situation, oh, it's just a 2 versus 1. Then with Norscaran hit, they think this is great. But there's Jizuke, Attila doing so much damage from over the wall as well. This is just a prime and easy setup for Vitality to just crush the multiple members of Roccat.
Huge props between Jizuke and Jack Troll for setting up a bit of a bouncy house there on the Wild Growth Alistar. Not a lot Roccat could really do once the damage started coming in, so now the question is answered. That's where Vitality are going to have it. Roccat, though, keen to respond in the mid lane. Maybe we get ourselves a 5v5 here. I don't know if Vitality want that.
I feel like Vitality's 5v5 is actually pretty strong, but you got to say the same for Roccat when you have things like the Aurelia, one of the best team fighters in the game right now, given the AoE ult that she does have that can really reduce a lot of the damage and the sheer amount of mobility and damage she can throw out, especially with the Tree Force finished. You think about mid-game champions as well. Vladimir, once he's, now he's completed the Proto Belt, his ulti really enhances a lot of the damage in these mid-game fights too. So I think Roccat would be quite happy to take a fight. But Vitality, they're no slouches either way. The Darius, pretty insane in these fights, especially if he can fully stack his passive. You have a Heimer in there as well. And Vitality, they're just grouping up a lot more this game. They've now grouped up towards the top side, sieging onto this tower. And Roccat, one of the big things about their comp is they actually don't have a lot of wave clear. So when Vitality use numbers to just brute force a tower, unless Roccat choose to hard engage, there's very little that they can do about it.
Yeah. Showing some versatility, though, for Vitality, not trying to stick to the same style where they were, you know, out-muscling and also just finding a lot of split push. This is what we saw out of them when Cabochard was playing the Aatrox last week. They got him ahead reasonably well and just dragged opponents across the map. Now as the 5v5 is coming in, now Attila's got to watch himself. He tanks up the True Shot barrage, flashes over the wall. Vitality trying to make a great escape, but they've got to be careful. There's a lot of poke. Roccat, as you mentioned, keen to get the fight. Jack Troll having to flash out of the Vanguard's edge, and Roccat now the ones pushing down mid.
So Roccat, they don't have their full 5-man squad, but given the HP of the turret, they thought they could siege, but Vitality do have a decent amount of wave clear with the Heimerdinger and the Lulu. They will be able to slow down the push, and when you think about Roccat being in a 7 to 3 kill advantage, you would expect Roccat to be dictating so much more of the pace of this game, but Vitality have been the proactive ones. They've been the ones challenging Roccat in every step of the way, and they've been finding ways to try and get back into this game, and it has been working. Memento, even though he's 6-0-1, does not feel as scary as he did in the early game, and Vitality are not afraid to play into it.
So how much of that has to do with Memento maybe playing a little more, or a little less like active in trying to force some of these fights, and how much of it is the Trundle?
I really don't think it's much to do with Memento at all. I just feel that a large of it is Vitality and the way in which they're just applying pressure. They recognize, okay, our mid is struggling, let's just group and force. And now Norscaran face check.
They're grouping and forcing. Norscaran, he's flashed over. There's the gray health coming in, but oh, Hikyu just barely gets away from the impale, and now Gilius is kind of fed over the way of Roccat. Let's see if they can take this fight. Pulled in 2-man apprehend, knocked and bopped around, but Vitality have found themselves a second win, or have they? Chunked out by the True Shot barrage to back and forth. The fair flash bash and crash, and it looks like they're turning around once again with Cabochard. There's the double. Stolen away on that triple kill. Jack Troll's gonna pick that one up, but he gets one all the same. And Yamato Cannon, he likes exactly what he's seeing. Give him the old 1-2.
And Cabo with the huge turnaround right there. Things were looking dire as Blanc dives onto the backline and takes out some of the support from Vitality, but in that choke point, in that situation, Darius thrives. So Norscaran takes the brunt of the damage. Gilius isn't quite able to ult in Hikyu, and he's the one that kind of gets shut out very quickly. Then they chase into all these Heimer turrets who are just freely dishing damage off, and you can see the power of the polymorph here as well. But then just keep your eyes on Cabochard. He's not focused at all. He gets that first kill. He's fully stacked on the passive. He has his ult up as well, and he just cleans up the rest of the fight. While all this has been going on, Baron has been taken.
Yep, very quickly smarted away by Gilius, but Jack Troll is left as a sacrifice for Roccat, who unfortunately weren't able to get in the pit time enough to steal. That one was pretty hectic, so taking stock of the situation, 10-10 in kills. Vitality, 3,000 gold in the lead now with the Baron buff.
Vitality playing these fights extremely well, utilizing the mid-game spike that their comp does have, and able to turn this early game around back into their favor. With the Baron buff, We've seen how easy it is for teams to close out games, and the pressure now falls onto Roccat to be able to stop the oncoming siege. We've already talked about the lack of wave clear. This could prove detrimental as Vitality sets their eyes on another game win here in the Summer Split.
Roccat, things are looking so good to start off the game, but Vitality, they've brought it back. See if they're able to keep this one going. The Mountain Dragon should fall. Not a whole lot Roccat can do to try and contest this. But what an incredible performance in those team fights by Vitality. I mean, that one in the mid lane could have gone, honestly, either way, but those Heimer turrets and what Cabochard was dishing was the difference maker.
It was the fact that Roccat just so hard committed to the fights. They dived onto the backline that Vitality didn't really have to do much. Well, it's very difficult for them to close. They kind of have to just run at their opponents or hope that they come into them, and that's exactly what Roccat did. So the dash is in range of everyone. He could just freely dunk and dish out the damage as much as he needed, and then they were able to get a successful fight. Now they have their eyes set on this mid-tier 2. Roccat kind of forced to concede it as the siege does continue from Vitality.
Looks like have a couple more minions to try and charge that way, but they don't want to go all the way to the inhibitor turrets. So as a 5-man, Vitality backing off, still just under 2 minutes ticking on the Baron buff, but they're only pushing on one lane. Roccat trying to answer by pushing out and clearing the vision they can. Cabochard down towards the bottom. He has teleport available. This jungle is blind for Team Roccat, and there's a death brush set up.
They're not going to fall for it. Roccat, their spidey senses were tingling.
They have face checked enough bushes this game. I feel like they've learned their lesson.
Yeah. So kind of comeback options for Roccat. Challenging at this point. They still have a decent team fight with the Aurelia and the Vladimir. If they can just kind of shut... It's difficult because you kind of want to shut down the Darius as quickly as possible, but with the comp that's built around him, it's very hard to just insta-kill him, especially with the Sterax there. So... a well-executed fight is kind of what Roccat need, but it's going to be very challenging given the situation they're in. Here we go.
Oh, well, let's see how well-executed this fight is as well. They found Jizuke, forcing him to flee away. Meanwhile, Jacktroll taking up the rest of the brunt of the damage. Chilius, he's going to not be able to pick one because Prophet gets swallowed up by Norscarin, and everybody backs away. Too close for comfort.
So how many ults were used? That's the big thing. Attila still has his available, same for Cabo. The TP is available, so he's likely just going to TP back into the fight, ready for another go as Blunt slowly gets chipped out by Vitality.
So does this tower. Looks like that one's going to fall. Roccat forced to concede once again. Jacktroll gets a knock-up on the Norscarin, and he's going to get deleted before he can even pop his gray health. Vitality set their sights on the inhib, start to crack that base right open, and Roccat left reeling.
Vitality pretty clean there. They didn't lose any members. They even got themselves a kill and the inhibitor just as the Baron buff wears off. So they couldn't quite end the game immediately, but still a lot gained in their favor. And you can see here, this is kind of the second half of the fight where Cabo just returns to the fray. I see. So Attila used the upgraded grenade in order to get the stun down, and then with the poke damage and the follow-up from Vitality, that was more than enough to secure themselves the kill. So Vitality overall playing this game very well. From an early deficit, they were able to find their way back, largely from just being proactive, grouping up as a team, taking advantage of the lack of wave clear on the side of Roccat, using numbers advantage and moving through the enemy jungle to find picks, allowed them to just steadily, one kill at a time, one objective at a time, regain control of the map. And then with the Baron, they were able to break into the base. So now they have the choice of waiting for the next Baron to spawn and then using that to try and end out the game, or they can just look to group up and siege once again because they do have a pretty healthy gold advantage and they should not be afraid of trying to fight Roccat right now.
Yep. Finding their way back into that one after close to disastrous early start. This is one of the strengths of Vitality. This is a team that they're very vocal about how much they actually believe in themselves and their own skill and their ability to win as a team. They don't seem to get phased during the course of the game. If they do lose, sometimes that can get to them. But in the course of a game, they definitely know how to correct things, and it looks like they're well on their way to trying to find the win here. However, the True Shot Barrage does come out to clear the wave up towards the top. They'll come back, try again later. Unperturbed. And unshakable. Vitality just keep on marching.
Vitality just pushing the waves in for the time being, moving between top and mid. Helps them gain some vision around the top side of Rockat's jungle, given that the Baron is spawning in about 2 minutes time. They're going to use a lot of their wards now, then go back to base reset, and then they'll use the pressure that they've gained from this deep vision to then make it easier to then move into the river and gain control of that area. So just a lot of pushing right now for the time being, and then when they're ready, they'll reset and set their eyes on the big purple one.
Well, we rarely see the two Barons really coming through to end the games in this patch, in this post 8.11 world that we've been living in right now, Vedius. We could actually be into one of our longer ones. But hey, Vitality were pretty good in spring. If the game goes as long as they did then, they're well on their way either way.
It's a little disrespectful of Jizuke to pick himself up a Magi-Eyes, given that
5 stacks,
he
man.
have 3 deaths so far this game. He was buffed recently, but I don't think he has enough stacks to take advantage of the buff.
He's banking it up for later. He's assuming he's going to get more kills.
Yeah, I think you need 10 stacks in order to at least gain some of the value from it. So he's only at 5 right now. We'll see how things pan out if he can get more of those stacks. For the time being, more controls have been picked up. You can see that Vitality did just go back to base. Roccat not really investing in vision right now because they'd be lucky to really leave their base. And Baron is the next big opportunity for Roccat to find a way back into this game. Memento, he stole a lot of them. The last time they went up against each other. Vitality want to fight.
I don't know if he's going to get the chance. Gilius gets stopped short for just a second to try and find Norskaren on the impale. Rest of Roccat quick to react, running the race up against the Scorpion. Still though, 20 seconds until the Baron spawns. Vitality making sure that jungle is awful dark. As you said, they've really come back into the vision game. We talked about it way earlier that Roccat, they'd invested so many control wards, but it really has turned on its head.
Just the Vitality are waiting for the bot lane to push in right now. They need Roccat to split apart. Baron is literally about to spawn right now, and the moment Roccat go down to clear, then they can look to force. They know there's no vision in the river. Everything is in Vitality's favor. Yes, there is teleport available for Roccat, but Vitality, they're actually going to choose to play it safe. They're looking for a fight.
Uh-oh, Memento, he's throwing down the pillar. Will it be enough to get away? It will for now. Here comes the Tom Kench. They're going to be bringing everybody the 5v5 Roccat. They might decide that this is the time to do or die. Vitality leading them on a goose chase through the river, into the brush.
Oh, this is dangerous for Roccat.
Memento stepping right in, dragged around the map. Let's see if the Aurelia can do a damn thing. The Tomcat swallowing up Memento. Nobody's down just yet, but that is about to change. Here comes the Heimerdinger damage, and Roccat bleeding. Kabushart's going down. Roccat might have found the fight after all. Gilius, he's forced to flash and wiggle his way away, and Roccat find a miracle of a fight.
Prophet comes up huge with the Vladimir, and now the Baron is alive. The pressure falls on Gilius to try and steal this Baron away. Roccat have no control wards, so he's in a position to do it.
Gilius does have the Blast Cone. Jizuke and Jack Troll can try for the distraction maneuver. Gilius waiting on that smite. Prophet really low here, so is the Baron. Here comes Jack Troll. Looks like they're going to find the damage. Gilius, can he be the hero? He steals it away! Gilius stopping the damage short. Jizuke trying to get away with the Baron, and Hiku's going to make sure it doesn't happen, but the game continues.
Oh my word. Roccat find the fight. They lose the Baron, but no one on Vitality gets it. Let's see how this plays out. A lot of resources were put onto Memento to try and shut him down, while Vladimir and Hiku were largely untouched. Hiku then gets a huge ulti onto all the members, and then look at the damage from Prophet. Ulti plus E is everything that they need to just shred through the Vitality lineup. Cabo finally dies, and with him out of the equation, Roccat are able to turn things around, but then the Baron steal comes in. I'm not sure why Memento waited so long to use his smite, because he had it up and available. I saw the Baron like 600 HP. Let's keep our eyes on it. Jack Troll goes in. He tries to just buy a little bit more time. Smite is still available for Memento, and it just gets stolen away by Gilius. He had the ward. The timing was easy, and it ends up going in favor of Vitality. So I'm not quite sure what state the game is in right now. You can see
I think you can sum it up like that.
Of Vitality, but these fights are going to be exciting. No Baron now available. No one has it. Vitality got the gold, but overall, the gold is pretty even between the two teams. The bot inhib has respawned, and you can see how pivotal Prophet will be in the upcoming fights. He has now finished the Void Staff and Morello, and those will be big, big factors in determining if Roccat can get themselves the win today.
Vitality are going to have to be so careful when Roccat come and try to force the fights, because up until that point, between the Heimer turrets and the AoE damage they were able to dish, it was completely fine. But Roccat found an answer. Let's see if Gilius can get something around the side. Jack Troll finds a two-man knock-up here, and it looks like Vitality, they find the charge on this one. However, the Aurelia ultimate trying to zone people away. No one from Roccat has gone down just yet, and here goes Prophet. The Tides of Blood, not nearly enough damage. Vitality left bleeding. The True Shot barrage. will find its mark, but no kills. However, Roccat, they have the push. They can take down some towers.
Credit has to be given to Norscarin here because his use of the Consume has been absolutely massive. Every time Vitality have gotten close to shutting down a member of Roccat, Norscarin has come in clutch and kept them alive, taken them to safety, allowing Roccat to then reset the fight and come off the victors overall. You've got to remember, Cabo and Attila are really the only damage dealers on this squad. And while in the mid game, yes, they have powerful spikes. Once you hit like this 3-item point, you have an Aurelia, a Trundle, an Ezreal, and a Vladimir all dealing damage. So, yeah, sure, if you take out Memento quickly, that's great. But he's kind of the tankiest member of them all, and then you have all this additional damage coming out from Roccat to help still win the rest of the fight.
And I think it's so clutch that you mentioned what Norscarin's able to do. The Northern Norwegian hero, right? He's been able to not just make plays aggressively. Sometimes all you need to do to make play is swallow up the guy that's about to die, and everyone can't juggle their aggro. And yeah, you got to just look at the gold game this time around, because this is how it has gone. Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely an up and down performance this game. It's made it exciting to watch though, Pyra. 27 kills so far. We're almost North America right now. We haven't quite reached that point yet.
We're not that level of Cloud Fiesta.
No, not quite. So grouping up mid from Roccat right now as Vitality look to clear bot. Remember, no Baron for the teams to play around, no Dragon either. So just a lot of grouping and pushing, grouping and pushing. A lot of outer towers have also been taken down, so it's really only the base ones left to try and secure. And Roccat, they have position on this mid-tier 3, but Vitality do not want to give it up for free.
For Roccat, a win here would be so big considering they've not been able to find the consistency at the start of the split. We mentioned it earlier, night and day performance. And last week against G2, against H2K, we saw them look good, we saw them look bad. Right now, they have found quite a lot of both, but they've come back into this game in what has been such a swing. But they're playing it very carefully. Extremely close on the gold game. Extremely close in the kills. 7-5 in towers. Their inhib, of course, being back up. And I feel like it's going to come down to another Baron play.
I mean, I think it's just going to come down to one big fight. Look at the damage this Ezreal has thrown out so far in this game. He has been dishing out a lot of poke, and Hiku, his positioning has been very optimal in a lot of these fights. Only one death so far, but a current KD of 6, 1, and 4. You know, he's kind of been, I don't want to give him all the credit because I feel like Prophet has been the one winning the fights, but you've got to recognize that Hiku has not been a slouch on the backline.
Yeah, the poke is definitely quite valuable. I mean, it's a very apt name for him. He Q quite a lot, actually. So he's been able to find not only that, the true shot barrage damage has been key to one of the few wave clear mechanisms that Roccat actually have to try and stall this out, and this is why you see not more than just the one inhibitor down bot broken.
Just wanted you to know that you kind of broke my soul a little bit with that joke, and
excellent.
While it was witty and effective, that hurt. But it was funny if you're not me. So congratulations, Pyra.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Freak would appreciate it, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
He cute a lot, really. Wow. Anyway. See, you laugh at your own joke. It was yours.
I left at your response because I have no idea what else to do.
So the 608 Trundle still has 6 kills. Remember, he had those kills at like 10 minutes into the game and hasn't been able to find another one since. Instead, he moved to support bot. He's been trying to spread the kills and gold out a little bit more. That will be very valuable as the Baron is now spawning in about a minute's time. We're approaching 4 items for many members of Roccat, and the same can be said for Vitality. Jizuke level 16. Level 16's hit across the board, really, which is very, very valuable because it does mean 3 points in your ultimate, which is always going to be a useful thing to have. So both teams now just playing for priority. Roccat will push in the middle lane. The bot is stacking up a huge wave and is slow pushing in favor of Roccat as well, but the same can be said for Vitality in the top side of the map. This will allow Roccat to get a bit of deep vision around the Baron, though, on the top side, even though they do not have the pushing wave. So when the Baron spawns, they can either look for a pick, or they can just rush the Baron down. Remember, they have a lot of damage dealers, so this Baron will drop pretty quickly for the side of Roccat. And Vitality, they just kind of want to kill, ideally, the Vladimir as quickly as possible. But with the pool and with the consume from the Tahm Kench, it's going to be challenging for the Gilius to pull that one off.
Yeah, easier said than done for sure. Memento's showing face, but of course he is not going to be alone. The dance around the mid lane continues. There's the pillar. Gilius wraps around the side. Jacktroll isolated from the team. Let's see if they can get the pick. He's a pretty tanky cow right now, but he had to burn his ultimate, and there's 3 seconds on the Baron.
That is huge for Roccat. Vitality, they're going to lose one of their big frontliners. And now they're going to be a little bit more afraid to engage. Remember, look at these minion waves. Big wave pushing in the bottom side of the map for Roccat. They have priority over mid and the deep vision to move towards the Baron. And even though the top wave isn't pushing in their favor, they don't worry about it for the time being. They have their eyes set on this Baron. Vitality, will they face check? No, they use their ward. Smart.
Very, very good. Blank does take some damage, poked out by Vitality. Roccat have to be careful. The way that they move, they could get caught up, and we've seen them fight in choke points earlier in this game. Didn't go so well for them.
So the thing is here, Vitality just stayed mid. They didn't bother to face check to enable getting to the wave much faster and then getting priority. So now they're the ones that are able to clear a lot of the vision. They're even able to get themselves the Scuttle Crab, which is a nice pickup there for Vitality. Will give them a little bit more comfort and security around this Baron, but they will lose a tower towards the bottom side of the map. The gold doesn't really mean a huge amount as we approach this point in the game. And I can safely say that we are approaching the late game at Pyra. And this is really where champions like Darius start to fall off and struggle to have an impact. But champions like Vladimir and Ezreal, they really come into their own.
Yeah, the late game exists after all. Who'd have thunk it? 38 minutes now on the clock. As you pointed out, the gold very even. Doesn't matter as much if the changes happen. Now there is the Scuttle Vision secured, as well as the Skarner Shrine. This is in full sight for Vitality. However, it's not the only objective on the map. The Baron might be live, but the Elder Dragon is coming up. Vitality have 2 mountains.
Now the Baron has been started. Gilius doesn't know what he wants to do. TP coming in from Cabo Shard. This is going to be the big game-deciding fight, Pyra.
All right, peel away from the Baron. Roccat decide they don't want to take it right here. Vitality, they're going to make a beeline down towards the bottom. Looks like we could be in for the Dragon Rush.
Roccat have no priority on any of the waves right now. They aren't pushing in mid. They don't have push on top. They're going to throw the ulti down bots to try and get the wave pushing there. But now they've set their eyes on the Baron. Vitality, they're going to divide their resources up, and they're going to try and have these 3 members stall the Baron out. If Vitality can pull this off, this will be the game.
Oh, this is risky. Here we go. The Aurelia Blade Surge going in. Gilius is able to make it out of harm's way. But the Dragon does get taken. Attila comes up. Now Gilius turns around, tries to find the pick on a Prophet, but he pulls away. Alistar coming around the side. Jack Troll, he does have his ultimate back up and available. Roccat able to sneak away this time, but Vitality own the Baron pit.
That was extremely good decision-making there from Vitality. As 3 members, they're able to stop the Roccat Baron and secure themselves the Elder. There's around 2 minutes available on that. They're all sitting in the bush. Are they looking to recall?
Oh, it's so tense.
Oh, Roccat. They just want to see if the Baron is being started. They recognize that it's not. And they're going to just stall this Elder Dragon out for the time being. 2 Mountain Drakes is still pretty significant. But such a close game. We have not had a kill in a while now, Pyra. But it is still very tense between the 2 teams.
So here's a question. Do Vitality try to use this Elder Drake empowered dragon pushing to like knock down, well, just march down the mid lane or the top lane, or they just force the Baron?
Baron is the easier objective, because right now with the Elder Dragon, you want to fight. You want to force the enemy into a position where you can take advantage of the bonus damage that you will get from this Elder. So you can see they're just clearing out all of the vision in the river, they're pushing out mid lane, and they're saying, Roccat, if you want this Baron, you have to come and fight us for it, and we are more than happy to do it.
And they turn it right around, looking for Memento. Looks like that kill's gonna happen right away. The shutdown, Attila finds a huge one, and it looks like the Aurelia coming in, gonna get pushed back time and time again, knocked and bopped and left and right, and Gilius and Cabo Shard finding their way out of harm's way after finding 1 or 2 more shots. Those Heimer turrets are coming up huge. Roccat, they lose 1 member, and that will be all, but Vitality don't feel healthy enough to go right back to the Baron.
Well, they do have the Heimerdinger, and they have a Skarner to tank this one up. I feel like that they could start it if they wanted to.
Teleport.
And here comes the TP in from Jizuke. No jungler on the side of Roccat. Vitality almost certainly going to guarantee the Baron.
There's all that bonus damage coming up in spades. 3 members is all it's going to take to fire down the Baron. The 3rd one of the game. Vitality picked this up, and they finally have it on all 5.
And with the Elder Drake running out shortly, this is exactly the objective that they need. A Memento. He was not expecting the bush. Noskarian couldn't get in because Jack Troll zones him away, and there was no save opportunity. If Memento had lived, this could have potentially been a huge fight win for Roccat, but individual members of Vitality stepping up clutch and allowing themselves to get the kill needed in order to secure themselves the Baron.
I like how Blank just kept getting bouncered out of that fight, like over and over again. He was still dishing damage, but kudos to Vitality to just focus on him, to actually knock him away time and again.
A full build on Attila, level 18, the Baron buff in tow. Roccat, they want to try and force a fight before Vitality can get onto the towers. You can see they're setting up a bit of vision because they do have the teleport flank available for Profit, which could be the best way for them to really win out on these fights. Whereas Vitality just want to stay grouped up, stay clumped. Have this Lulu keep those members protected while the Darius dishes out the damage, and this late game Heimer is free to just shred through the opposition with the turrets that he set up.
Not to mention, if anyone steps too close, Gilius can basically just turn on the Predator and grab somebody away. That'll effectively end this game if it's going to be a priority target like Prophet. However, he still has Pool. Easy enough for him to try and dodge away. Now, 2 minutes still ticking on the Baron buff. Waves pushing, fortunately, for Roccat. About in the middle of the map right now, but here comes the big wave of minions in the mid. Do they have the damage to take down the tower? Heimer turrets getting set up. Jack Troll trying to roam around. There's that True Shot barrage. It takes a bite out of the wave, but there's still Baron empowered Canyon minion firing down. Just not quite enough, and Vitality do not want to full commit to this one.
Yeah, Gilius just body blocking for the cannon right now, which is just hitting away on the minions. Look at how they stand in the way. They know they can't do anything about it. Roccat will freely give up this tower, and Vitality likely on track to secure themselves 2 inhibitors unless Roccat can find a fight right now.
Desperation for Roccat to try and get back into this game, but we've seen them beat the odds and come out ahead in some of these fights. It has been such a long back and forth. This is one of those games that really tests your limits as a player. If you can come back, if you can survive the heartbreak of having a lead like Roccat had early on evaporate, and take advantage of the fact that you should have some better scaling here if only you can get in with Profit and dish that AoE damage.
Well, gold pretty much means very little right now, sure. Final items yet to come out for a couple of members, but for Vitality, they're feeling pretty good. Triple cannon wave in the bottom lane. That will quickly melt through. Cabochard using the Righteous Glory.
Just trying to scare Roccat away. It's all about that objective game. The 2 Mountain Drakes certainly paid their dues in this game. So Roccat, they just see their base cut through, but it's guerrilla warfare, Vitality. They want to hit and run.
Yeah, there are just so many minions as well that Roccat don't feel comfortable trying to fight in that many members. The empowered Baron Recall also taking Vitality to safety, and Roccat were too afraid to force the fight. 2 inhibitors go down. Vitality quickly grouping up to try and secure themselves the 3rd. And Roccat, they have to go for a last-ditch effort fight if they want to have a chance of winning this game, because Vitality, they just have to wait. With 2 super minions, or 2 inhibitors down, it's only a matter of time before the minions start crashing down on towards the Nexus turrets. You have so much poke and siege with both the Lulu and the Heimerdinger that Vitality really don't need to do very much aside from avoid getting engaged on by this Roccat squad.
Now, Roccat have been able to find a couple of gauges on him this game, but it hasn't worked out well for them the last several attempts. So Vitality, let's see if they can be as clean as their reputation has suggested and make this one a 3-0. Here comes the Vladimir. This is the desperation fight for Roccat. Will they find it? Jack Troll, he's going to get stunned up. The damage, it's not quite enough, but they're still making moves. In goes Blank, but he gets knocked to one side. However, Norscarin is going to be able to get the finishing blow onto Jack Troll, but Vitality turning it right back around in a 4v5 scenario. Cabochard, there's that Darius falling off. Not enough damage, and the dunk is denied. Roccat still lead the charge, and that's going to be 1 Blade Surge and a second one, and Blank is coming up big on this.
Roccat with a huge team fight once again, and look at those death timers. Nearly a full minute before the main damage dealers of Vitality are alive, and while the base is in tatters, Roccat have their eyes set on the base of Vitality.
Roccat are even able to save their base turrets at this point, and they're marching up towards the top with 3 members. This is going to be rough. Prophet has teleport as well. It is only Gilius left to defend for another 12 seconds.
This is it. Roccat, if you're going to end the game, this is going to be your best opportunity to do so. Memento will tank the tower. They have their eyes set on the Nexus. Roccat, can they make the comeback for what has been a huge up and down game a reality?
You have absolutely spoken true here, Vedius. Jack Troll comes back up at a very clutch time, but Rockets have their sights set on the Nexus. Norscarin swallows up Jack Troll, just buying a little bit of time here, and they don't need to win this fight. They just need that Nexus, and Roccat in a roller coaster finish the fight.
1 fight, and Roccat go from base to base and end the game.
I cannot believe what we just saw in 46.5 minutes. holding their nerve. Oh, the frustration for Vitality, they had everything. The last thing they needed to do was not get engaged on, and while things were looking optimistic, Roccat was so resilient. They had their eyes set on that fight. They hard committed. They found the win. They killed 4 of the 5 members, and they just said, go, go, go. We can get the game. They rushed it down. They didn't care about the kills. And after what was such a back and forth game, Roccat come out as victors.
They can hold their heads high. After a mixed performance in week number 1, they come out the gates here. And they prove it doesn't matter what opponent they're going to be up against. Roccat always have that upset potential. Disappointment from the Vitality members. They had this game for a long time, but Roccat just said, no, you will not close.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for Vitality is they fell behind early. They were extremely proactive, and they played around their mid-game spike very effectively. But then just one poorly executed fight around the Baron area where Roccat were able to find the fight. Even then, Vitality steal away the Baron. And if they had lost that, then maybe Roccat could have snowballed into a much earlier win. But because of that steal, there was no objective to play around for 7 whole minutes. So it was just a constant back and forth, back and forth. And then when it came to a reset, both Elder and Baron were set up. Vitality played the map better. They secured the Elder, they secured the Baron, they found the successful picks. But then it was just Roccat saying, okay, when we get to fight you on our terms, when we get to fight you in a situation that favors us, that is when we'll come out on top. And they were able to finally do it. What a great game that was, Pyre.
It was, and to top it all off, we had that incredible base defense that turned it around, and we're going to take a look at that one more time. Brought to you by Acer Predator.
So this was the final fight, and the pillar there from Memento is huge because it locks Jizuke into an unoptimal position, and Cabo isn't on the front line to dish damage. Jacktroll is basically out of the fight by the time things start. And look at Attila. He uses the upgraded grenade rather than the turret. So there's no damage coming out from the side of Vitality, whereas there are 4 damage dealers on the side of Roccat. Everything goes in their favor, all off the back of just a smart engage. And there was just, Vitality weren't in a position to really get their damage out, while Roccat was able to get everything that they needed. And then they just rushed down the base in order to find themselves. It was not a clean win, but it is a win nonetheless.
Hey, you'll take that notch at the end of the day. And honestly, there was so many impressive performances on both sides of the map, but when we're seeing that last play, looking at how the Aurelia was able to just pretty much mop up everybody, I mean, this has got to be one of the reasons why people have been considering it such a high-tier picker ban.
I mean, for me, like, Prophet was a huge factor in a lot of these late-game fights. You can see his damage contribution was huge. Hiku as well. Just his positioning in fights was great. And this is something that we said a lot about him last split, where he just came across as inconsistent, because sometimes he would just go off, and his positioning was amazing, his damage was good, everything about him looked great, and then the next game he goes 0-6 on Kalista, and you'd be like, if only he could just find an essence of consistency. And now, week 2 in, he had a great game. We just have to hope now that for Roccat, he can maintain that throughout the rest of the split, because there is still a long season left to come. And after Roccat did make playoffs last season, they want to aim for bigger and brighter things this split.
Absolutely, but of course, so many guys stepping up, I feel like it's kind of hard to call who was the standout performer. So we're going to let you guys do it. If you have a favorite, be sure to vote for Player of the Game at LOL Esports on Twitter. Your choices now are Hiku, Prophet, and Blank. Again, that's a hard call, man.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think there were so many good performances, but I get to chuck in a quick humble brag as the only analyst to predict Roccat to get themselves the win today out of everyone. So on that happy note, why don't we do the toss?
Okay, for more on Rockat's win, let's check in with Quick Shot and the Jungler.
Thank you very much. Not my player of the game, because I would have voted for Memento. Dude, you came off stage, you were buzzing, you were shaking.
Yeah.
Base to base after one team fight. Why was it so crazy at the end?
I mean, I think we all had in mind that we wanted to give them like a sense of what we felt last time we faced them when they backdoored us. So we wanted to feel the same, you know? It's all about the revenge.
About the revenge. I'm sure that wasn't the strategy coming into the game.
That's all we talked about. You know, there was no draft, there was nothing. We just talked about the revenge.
Listen, Memento, you went, I think, 5-0 or 6-0 to start the game.
Yeah.
And I was asking some questions backstage, like, is Trundle the dude that you want to be that fed when you have so many carries around you?
I mean,
how is the comms going early game when everyone's yelling, Memento, KS, bro?
I mean, I didn't actually mean to take the kills, because I think on Trundle is kind of garbage to have the kills. But I just ended up like last hitting every kill, so I guess I'm the carry.
Okay, well, let's stop and talk about the game. You were behind the majority. Yes, you had kills, but Vitality had map control, they had gold leads, etc. So what was the communication like going from sort of 10, 15 minutes into that very lengthy, very crazy back and forth mid-game?
I think after we lost one team fight that they got Nash, we were talking about, like, I think Profit was calling, he said, let's just go late game, and Hiki was saying, we have an AD carry, they don't, so we just decided that we should farm up and look for a fight later on.
Go late game, you have an AD carry.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
meta breakers. Anyways,
you know.
Listen, Memento, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I do have one last question for you, looking forward. G2 will be taking on Schalke 04. Who's going to win this game and why?
I think G2 are gonna win pretty hard. I think they're just above everyone else's level at this point.
Well, definitely got some smiles from Wonder behind you. Congratulations, Memento, on the win. We're going to an ad break. When we come back, G2 take on Schalke. And it's important for you guys to check that stream out because we're on our twitch.tv/RiotGames2. We're also going to have the POV stream for perks. So anyways, we'll see you after the break.
GG. Thanks.
Round, but is he going to live before the TP comes in? It looks like no. Gilius tried to give him some backup, but it was just too much. Now Jizuke coming back to the mid lane, and with Gilius he's going to equalize, but the chaos isn't over yet. Memento flashes forward, takes a bite out of the Scorpion, and he's looking for Jizuke as well. Will Roccat come out ahead? Even Norscarin's joining the fun, and that's a triple kill from Memento. And oh, Hikyu just barely gets away from the impale, and now Gilius is kind of fed over the way of Roccat. Let's see if they can take this fight. Pulled in two-man apprehend, knocked and bopped around, but Vitality have found themselves a second win, or have they? Chunked out by the True Shot Barrage. It's a back and forth affair. Flash, bash, and crash, and it looks like they're talking about once again with Cabo Shard. There's the double. Stolen away on that triple kill. Jack Troll's gonna pick that one up, but he gets one all the same. Whoa! Nice! Cabo! Go, 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 go! Go! Woohoo!
He's low. He's dying, he's dying. Can we dash? Can we dash? We can dash, no?
Profit really low here, so is the Baron. Here comes Jack Troll. Looks like they're gonna find the damage. Gilius, can he be the hero? He steals it away! Gilius! Scenario, Cabo Shard, there's a Darius falling off, not enough damage, and the dunk is denied! Roccat still lead the charge, and that's gonna be one Blade Surge, and a second one, and Blank is coming up big on this! They don't need to win this fight, they just need that Nexus, and Roccat in a roller coaster finish the fight!